Yo, what's going on, world? Weekend Gabe in the mix here on Weekend at Gabe's show 9. Going just a little bit. Big show tonight on Friday night. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying their night. I left my adult beverage in the freezer, so I'm going to be right back. Hang tight. Hey, we're back at it. Weekend Gabe here, holding down your Friday night. Right here on Weekend at Gabe's. Got my adult beverage in the back there. Make sure that stay hydrated during the next hour. We're having Rising Over album out, Radiant, just dropped today. Executive produced by a friend of the show, Slade Lyn Gatz, who put out the EP in September. Topped out on the top 10 hip hop and R&B charts on iTunes. So really looking forward to having him on both those guys on the show. Chicago represented tonight. So yeah, we're gonna have a good night. So thanks to everyone who's joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's on Twitch, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're catching the show. Thank you for checking us out, having a good time with us. We're gonna have a really good show and good. So jump in space if you want. Welcome to do so and do such. And then we get into a little bit of what's trending on tonight in the news. The son of a former reality TV show who's acting as president tested positive for COVID today. Surprise, surprise. Anyone who is in contact with the White House to always turn up positive for COVID. Wonder what that's all about. But that's in the news tonight. And then news also broke that the MCU, the Marvel Universe, is moving forward with production on Black Panther 2 and Deadpool 3. Both are going down. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Black Panther, considering that we lost Chadwick Boseman earlier this year. But both are really exciting to see what's going to happen. The interesting thing is these movies, but where are they going to play them? That's going to be an interesting dilemma. So it's like they're making all this content, but is it going to be able to recoup? We'll find out. But also news broke this week that Wonder Woman is going directly to HBO Max on Christmas Day, but it's also going to be in some limited theaters that are open across the country. So I will not be going to any theaters, although I did go see Tenet when that came out because I really wanted to see what the experience of being in the theater was and see how, like, kind of gauge for myself if it was safe or not. And I felt like here in Chicago, there's a local theater, Logan Square Theater, that did a really good job of protecting everyone. At least I felt they did. And so we went to go see Tenet, and I think it went well. And even the director of Wonder Woman, forgive me for not knowing her name, but she also said like it's probably more safe to go see it in the theater than in your own home, which is a damn fact, being that a lot of people are doing a lot of welcoming a family to that next week, and all types of germs are about to get spread throughout the city here and across the country. Everyone's trying to get tested for COVID to find out if they're positive or not, to make that choice decision whether or not to congregate. And yeah, home is not the best place to be. So maybe a theater is. I don't know. But so Wonder Woman's going to be on HBO Max. I'm interested to see it. I wish I could support it in the theater because, makes them make more of it. So, we'll find out how that goes. What else is also in the news today? There was a number of trending topics. I was kind of a little bit busy today. Dwight Howard in sports, he's going to resign with the, so good for him. There was another piece of item, not the Trump Jr. stuff. In-N-Out Burger in Aurora, Colorado. There's a 12-hour line to get into the In-N-Out Burger in Aurora. I don't know if any food item is 1 hour wait. That seems excessive. I could be wrong. But that's wild. That's super wild. I've had In-N-Out Burger. It's all right. I know people really enjoy it, but I think it's all right sauce. Not enough for a 12-hour wait. It's definitely not. But to each his own. If you want, that's the word. If that's what you want to do your thing. Last night, the verses between Jeezy and Gucci didn't off the way that people thought it would. So there were no casualties, and no one got hands put on them. So that was a good thing, right? But Gucci did a diss record about Jeezy and his dead homie. Any other person might have put hands, but Jeezy big bro'd him and did it for the culture. Whether or not that was the thing that 95% of us would have done, I don't know, but he's a bigger person than I am, because I sure as hell probably wouldn't have sat there and ate that. I don't know. But the whole Jeezy Gucci thing is like Ja Rule 50 Cent level. Not nearly as that close, but there's a lot of animosity between those two. And for them to put on the show for an hour, although I didn't watch it, but I caught that highlight. Yeah, that's messy. But anyways, that's what's going on in the news that I only care about. Weekend at Gabe's is broadcasting live on Twitch, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, and we also have the Apple, Spotify, and Audio Mac podcast as part of it. You get to give us a follow on the social medias at Weekend Gabe. This gentleman coming up next, a resident of Chicago, but now spends his time in all parts of the city, or parts of the globe, and he has the new album out titled Radiant, that is executive produced by a friend of the show, Slade, and he did some time over on Slade's House of Divock this week, and he joins us now on Weekend at Gabe's. I'm talking about Ro, Rising Over Envy. Good evening, sir. How are you?
What's up? What's up? I'm good, man. Feeling good. Feeling great, man.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. What's funny is I tend to do this a lot. I don't know if you do this, but I go back and look at tweets that I put out like 10 years ago. I sometimes like dive into the rabbit hole of old tweets, and from like 10 years ago when I was first joining Twitter, and I've posted work that you did with Slot, with Neek, when like 2012. Like really early, like this is almost a decade ago, and I was like, it's like, but then it took like 2 years ago, right? I found you again, and I didn't know that I was like already familiar with your work because it had been so long in between. But then we met over at the WLUW studios.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And then the funny thing, right? Because I'm like, because whenever I find someone that think that no one's heard of or I really like, but I think I kind of feel
They
like I'm using my platform to give them a push or whatever that could bring. And then like after the show, you and Slot were like, "Yo, hey, what's good?" Because I was like ready to like introduce them, and I totally had forgot that you guys were like in the same circle, and so I was like just egg on my face because like it wasn't anything new. It was like, "Oh yeah, what's up,
for
bro?"
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. That shit was hilarious, man. It was hilarious.
But such is life. Such is life. How are you, man?
Absolutely.
How you holding up?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Today has been a great day.
Yeah.
First studio album is out. And I've just been at home in quarantine vibes, just celebrating solo and digital with people. But yeah, it's been a good day.
So the Radiant dropped today, right? So it released 12:01 a.m. whatever or 11 o'clock last night on all the streaming
Yeah,
platforms, the digital streaming platforms or the DSPs. Um,
DSPs.
right. So how's that to get the project out? Yo, we're back at it.
Yo.
We live in the internet. Nothing's reliable. Thanks for hanging in
Absolutely,
there.
yo. Nah, no
Um,
doubt, no doubt.
so let's start. The new album just dropped today. How's it? The Shine, the song produced by Slade had been out for about a month. I had talked about it on Vocalo here in Chicago, and I really enjoyed the record.
Thank you.
How does it feel to now sort of build towards the album, and now it's out there, and sort of that finish line feel is that kind of how it feels?
Yeah, it does, man. Because honestly, when you put out singles, especially when you know there's a whole body of work. Like as much as I loved Shine Out as a single, I knew it wouldn't fully make sense until you hear the full album.
Yeah.
And so when I was seeing the reaction of Shine and Higher, the two singles we put out, I thought it was great that there was that reaction, but in my head I was just like, man, I can't wait for people to hear the whole story, and hear the full album. And now, at that point, I'm excited because now it's like being able to put those pieces together.
Sure.
So I think, most of all, I'm just happy to be able to share the music, see the reactions, and get that real time feedback on it.
Shine deals with like kind of like a bit of like I identified it as like a song about mental health, right? That's kind of like the feel. There's a lot of feeling and emotion behind that record. Is that kind of the way you kind of approach it, dealing? Because that seems like a topic of discussion that I'm hearing a lot in people's records, especially now during COVID, where people are trying to stay focused and stay confident and sort of protect it. And that's kind of how that record felt to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, Shine is, this story of me wanting to share and shine my light with others in the world and talking about, the good and the bad that comes along with that. People
Right.
who follow me and listen to my music may believe that, everything is peachy. I'm feeling good. I'm always like the positive guy, but, I go through things too. And I really wanted that song to represent that, like, hey, we all are dealing with things, but we have to remember that deep down inside that light exists within us. And even in our darkest, we can still find a way to progress and shine. And that's really what I wanted that song to be. So it does tap on into that. But it does go into like the overall spectrum of just really wanting others to shine their light on the world.
Yeah. You're a guy who has bounced around this country a lot. You're from Chicago. You're from the West Side. I read you lived in Brooklyn, and now you're in California and LA, right?
Yeah.
And so you've seen a lot of this country. You've been privy to experience hip hop in the Mecca in New York, and to obviously here in Chicago to breed your talent. And now you're in LA, which has its own rich history. Has all those different experiences affected the way you make music and the way you approach music? Because each of them had, each space of the country had identity, and I kind of feel like with this record, it sounds very universal. Like it doesn't sound like it's pitted in any of these different locations. It kind of feels like a universal feel. Did you kind of gather, like when you were putting this record together, is it intentional that you were like, I don't want this to sound like anything that you can put on the map, and I want it to have its own feel to it?
I can't say it was like intentionally done, but I mean, I did want it to sound like something that we haven't really heard much of recently, or something that could be a story that no matter where you are, you can identify and relate to it. So I think that was definitely an inspiration. Being in Chicago my entire life, and moving out to New York and spending time in Brooklyn. Being I lived in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, so if you're familiar with hip hop, there's a really great MC and some great MCs that have come from just that area in Brooklyn in general. So being around the hip hop culture was always pretty cool. And then now out here in LA. So I think all of those places have definitely played a part in how I create music. I've learned, I developed my skill set in Chicago, and I fine tuned it in New York, being around other creatives, being out of my comfort zone, being around
Yeah.
some of the best, artists in the world. And then coming out here to LA, where I feel like, things for me are a little bit more polished, and ready to kind of take advantage of the opportunities that would exist in a space like this.
Yeah. Who are some of the along your journey? And I don't mean for you like to name drop, but like who are some of the great MCs that we might have heard that you might have brushed alongside or conversations with that either kind of help push you along your way? Not to say like they like co-signed you or anything like that, but like people you've just sort of interacted with along the way.
I'll say the one, there are quite a few. I've met a lot of, MCs that were inspirations to me growing up in my own artistry. But I would say the most important conversations or interactions or things that I've learned have actually come from interacting with Ryan Leslie. Ryan
Mm.
brought me on his team, brought me on years ago when he first started his app Superphone as one of the beta artists to start the platform. And really, what I was able and still am able to learn from him is just the idea of independence and how to do it at an efficient level and a high level. And if you know Ryan's journey, he has very unique ways that he's able to connect with his audience, to build with his audience, and essentially to build and make money with it, from his audience. So, I learned a lot of great things from Ryan that I implement in my own artistry, and I think that's probably been one of the most meaningful relationships or interactions that I've experienced in the industry.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, exactly. And I seem like it. I'm sure it feels like the different people that you've come in contact, they kind of like filled in a piece of your puzzle to help
For
build
sure.
you to where you're at now, or at least kind of give you that confidence or that experience for you to craft your own records. And the thing about
Absolutely.
you is you tell a lot of stories and you share a lot about yourself, and it's not just like whimsical raps that are just trying to like, cause you have a great production and
Thank you.
you're just trying to like just show that you can rap. There's always sort of this earthy feeling about you like exploring yourself and where you're at mentally and also spiritually that stands out, especially what we hear on Radiant. When you went into this record, like, did you start recording this record this year prior to it, toward the quarantine, or was it like right when it started?
Yeah, we actually started recording this album before. So we started recording this album in 2019. And, we started the process, and I was touring a lot, you know, all of 2019, essentially. So it was really tough to kind of, although I was working on it, I didn't have the time or carve out the time to just sit and just focus solely on finishing the album, whether that was edits or changes or recording parts, or rewriting verses. So we kind of had sort of a skeleton of the album going into maybe like late February.
Mm-hmm.
And then when COVID hit, I was touring, and I ended up ending the tour and going back to New York mid-March. And then, during that time frame, I really had time to now just sit at home and just kind of focus and lock in on finishing the album. So it started before the quarantine and the COVID pandemic hit. But I was able to really finish it during the early parts of quarantine, and then we finished it up. I want to say we had like a final mix and master of it by June,
Right.
and we were just kind of waiting, trying to ride out the wave of COVID to see what would happen. And then once we realized, like, all right, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, we just decided that now is probably the best time to just drop the album.
When did I was listening to a little bit of your conversation with Slot A, who executive produced Radiant, and you had like kind of approached him to like come on board with this, right?
There. So when I this was when I was about to start working on the album. Slot and I, we've been knowing each other. He even reminded me of how long we've been knowing each other, almost 15 years. And, we've worked on things together, but we haven't worked at this capacity where it's kind of been a full record. That's my big brother. So it's like we have a great relationship. And one day, anytime, just about every time I'm in Chicago, I end up seeing Slot before the album was even a thing. And I was in Chicago just chilling. I was like, "Yo, bro, let's catch up." Like we always do. So I went by the studio. We, just sitting there chopping it up for a little bit. And then he goes, "Hey, bro, I've been, not to gas you up, but I've been working on this beat for you. I think it'd be dope." We hadn't even talked about the album at all. No conversations about it whatsoever. And he played the beat he ended up playing was a Sean beat. And that was the first record that we were just like, all right, let's do this. And I was happy to have him involved as the executive producer.
Yeah. It's just like if I know Slot has a lot of different sounds.
For sure.
And he demonstrated that was it this week or last week? He was doing like sort of like he was on IG just playing like beats that he had stored up, and everyone's just going absolutely nuts over like but this one had and I hate to use the word like a commercial feel to it, but it had a
Yeah,
very lively, welcoming feel to it that
yeah, for sure.
a lot of people can engage with,
Yeah.
and then also sort of the message also is positive as well. So it felt like a great introduction. So with the title Radiant, like what is the meaning or the description behind that title, and how does it relate to the product that we hear in the album?
Man, so Radiant, essentially the album is, and you kind of hit it on the head a little bit, is me essentially telling my story of how I've gone through my life journey, and being able to shine my light in the world, and being able to radiate a bright light of energy and good vibes, in a dark world, and I think sometimes we forget that with all the craziness that's happening around us, that
Yeah,
that we all have the ability uh, to go within, and go forward in this life, doing some, living out our dreams and accomplishing our goals and all of these things that we all aspire to do, and hope to do within this time that we're on this earth. And yeah, this album is just my story of my journey, and it kind of weaves in a lot of personal things that uh, I don't often discuss, but I really wanted to be as open, as transparent, and vulnerable in this album. And yeah, that's what it came from, that just being able to shine your light, being bright, and end up narrowing it down to Radiant. Originally, it was gonna be called Radiant Child. This was the title I came up with, back in 2012. But as I started really working on this album, I just felt like, it's such a mature body of work that the child part, it's some childlike funness to it, but there's a really strong message in it that I didn't want to get lost.
do I was so when I was looking up, and I was with whatever guess, I kind of just like search around the internet to see what I could find, and like there was a line piece I saw, and it was like from 2011, 12, and I can't remember the online publication, but they had like taken a photo of you, like you had your merch set up, you had your all your stuff ready to go, like you were like really marketing yourself on a DIY scale, and and you were saying like this is your first sort of studio album release. It's been 10 years. Almost, I don't know. Like I don't
Yeah,
know how long
yeah,
you've been like really been doing this,
absolutely.
but like 10 years to get to this moment for like a studio. When people say, well, when you hear studio, that means to me like the mixing, the mastering, everything
Absolutely.
about it is pristine. It's not like who is just flirting with Pro Tools is doing the work for, but like you're paying someone to really bring out the best of your product. Like
Yeah.
what it like when you think of that journey, what where like at what point does it kind of feel overwhelming that it's taking this long of work of touring, networking, just the grind of being an independent artist? Does that ever become like sort of an overwhelming feeling when you're doing that reflection?
Yeah, honestly, bro, yeah, it does at times. It does, because I think back to, the beginning of my journey. I went from recording raps in my bedroom in my parents' house to moving out on my own and recording raps, when I went to college in my dorm room, and then in my own apartment. I think about my journey of moving to New York, and I was still recording myself and recording at home, still just trying to figure out what I wanted my sound to be. And then when I was in New York, met some really cool people that owned a studio out in Brooklyn. And it was the first time that I had decided to go into a studio to record. I had never thought about it in, my career. And what I realized that allowed me to do was, it allowed me to truly focus on just being the artist and letting other
Right.
people do, the job of engineer, or, producer, and musician. So it really allowed me to kind of open up a little bit more creatively, and be more hands off in the recording process. And then, with a studio album, that whole New York experiment of recording in the studio really prepped me for this moment, being able to record the entire album in a studio with world class engineers, in a world class facility in Chicago, and so it was something that I was super happy and excited to do, and really just appreciate the whole journey of bedroom raps to world class studio raps. So yeah, man, it does get overwhelming at times, but man, I swear I appreciate it, every day, just because I remember where things were when I started and where they are now, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great feeling for sure.
I love to ask this for about artists because I think this is worth mentioning and sharing with other artists who are at the beginning of their journey and who are 1 foot in and 1 foot out of that security safety net of like a job, but they're pursuing the passion. Take me to that moment where you decided to take that leap of faith and you're like, I'm going to pursue music full time and, sink or swim, like I'm going all in.
Yeah, man. The crazy part I'll say is when I decided to do it, I had a really great job. At the time, I was making pretty decent money living in New York, and I was just like, yeah, you know what, man, forget it. Like I'm done. Like I'm over it. But what was cool was I used that environment to uh, develop my skill set, not only as a creative, but more so looking at how a business is ran, how you know things are done. And I was at one of the biggest companies in the world. So just watching how they were doing things, how they were building relationships, managing relationships with their customers and things like
Sure.
that, that was very important to me because I was able to take a lot of those same methods and apply it to what I was doing, whether that was managing my relationships with DJs or talent buyers or venues directly or producers or whomever, just really understanding how to cultivate relationships.
Yeah.
So, when you get to that point where, you're ready to make that sacrifice, you kind of have to identify those things and make sure that your network is in a great place that when you need a favor or you need this production or you need, this video shot or, this artwork done, like that you have those connections that will either, help you out or do it for the low because you're going to need that, in this journey. And I think you have to really consider not only being ready as an artist, because that's the first thing we think about, like, oh, the music's good, but you have to make sure the full ecosystem is in a good place because you're going to lose that safety net and you got to replace it with something. So just, making sure that the network is in a good place, so that you can leverage those relationships going forward so you're able to sustain yourself in the process.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip for anyone who's just starting out, because you just never know of your journey. They may pop up 5, 6 years, and that impression or something that you did before may resonate and help you get to that next step.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's an important lesson to have. Um, what do you what how do you and I've been asking artists who have come on to talk about their projects recently, and this is kind of something that's interesting to me, is that obviously with touring and that source of revenue that a lot of independent artists count on, with that kind of being on pause or the foreseeable future. How do you plan to like get this out there, spread the word, to work twice as hard on the internet and the marketing and all that stuff that like kind of take away the fun of this project because you're not able to connect the work to the fans directly?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I'll be honest, it does a little bit because, touring is how I'm able to really directly connect with people. So I love being, on stage and allow people to experience the music through, the live set. So it does make it a little bit tougher. But, on the flip side, what's really interesting is there's, you think about all of our day-to-day journeys when we're at home. I guarantee in some shape or form some music is playing in the background. In some
Yeah.
shape or form, at some point, you're gonna play some music, and I think having you know music that can fit into that void, um, and just allowing people to get through those days. So you just have to find unique ways to now remind people that hey, my album is out, and that you should listen to this. So you find we have a live stream concert that we're gonna be releasing soon. We're finding these unique ways of shooting music videos and getting things done to keep the life going. But it is a little bit tougher to keep that lifeline going and that life cycle going without having touring available.
Yeah, I just I feel bad for you guys so much because I just know how much the show aspect of your revenue model is so important, but also
Absolutely.
it just takes away from you connecting with new fans because of a show that you be headlining or a co-headliner gather new fans, and it kind of like strips you away from that opportunity to connect.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
it, it's just it's a
this
total
is
bummer.
prime touring time. Like you think about pre-COVID, artists go from early summer when the early festivals start all the way through maybe mid to late November, maybe even into December. So this is really like that prime time for touring. And, we definitely had some plans for some touring. But at the end of the day, it's just forcing us to adapt and pivot. And hey, man, we're doing the best that we can in the process.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, in between time, Radiant is the new album from our guest Ro, Rising Over Envy. Please go out there
Yeah,
and support it. Chicago's finest. I didn't even get into talking about going from the West, the apparent best side of the city. For those you ask.
absolutely.
But the new album is fantastic. I was listening to it earlier today. We'll talk about it next week on Vocalo. So we'll definitely get into a lot of the records next week when I return back to Vocalo to review albums. And I can't wait to get into it and tell people about this record. It's a great record.
Thank you.
It's just like a comforting record to listen to, and I think that as the year progresses on, and I know that a lot of artists are starting to, and I mentioned this I mentioned it, I think it was this week, where it seems artists are starting to move towards more social justice talk, and which is fine. But I think it's like I don't the authenticity behind some of the messaging is
Absolutely.
a little suspect, and it feels like artists are doing what the in fad thing to do now is, because it's like, oh, that's popular to talk about now. So a police brutality record, and I'm not saying that those records aren't important, because every record that has a message is important, but to me, when you get an artist who is reflecting about something that isn't generically said, but something that is unique to their experience, that to me is what says a lot. And we hear a lot of that on Radiant, and we learn a lot more about you, and that kind of separates from the field of the releases, and that's what stands out.
No, I appreciate it. That was the goal, man. Like, I was watching a podcast the other day, and West Side Gun was on there. He said something that really stuck with me, where he talked about how he has, for those of you that follow Griselda, know they have a very unique sound, and you think about popular music, it isn't what the mainstream music world is doing. But he just talked about how he just had a belief in himself that he could uh, make this dream come true and make these things happen. And that's kind of how I look at it, man. Like I consider myself to have a very unique sound, and I do get feedback from industry people that say that they throw the unique word out there, the different word, but for me, this album was all about sticking to my guns and sticking to what I believe my sound to be and what me and my friends have curated our sound to be. And
Yeah.
I'm just very grateful that now that it's out, people are hearing it and they're resonating with that, and that means more to me than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone who's listening, following, however you're getting this conversation, this information, please go check out Roe on all digital streaming platforms. Support. It's a great record, and plus, it's like easy digestible. It's like 25 minutes. It's like
Yeah, we wanted to hit
you
that sweet spot.
exactly that. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. Unfortunately.
Exactly, exactly.
Tell people where they can follow you on the social medias and where they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, at Rising Over Envy on all social media platforms. If you want to directly connect with me, you can go to textro.com. Leave your phone number. I'll shoot you a text from my direct cell so we can directly engage. And yeah, man, check out my album Radiant, available on all streaming platforms. And yeah, let me know what you think.
Sounds good, man. Thank you for spending the Fridays on the release of your new album. I'm excited for you, so I appreciate you making time for us tonight on Weekend at Gabe's.
Hey, thank you for having me, bro, as always.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your night. We appreciate it.
All right, you too, bro. Peace.
All right, that was Rising Over Envy here on Weekend at Gabe's. I'm Weekend Gabe, holding down your Friday night like we always do around this time at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays and Friday nights. Don't forget to give us a follow on the social medias. We're here. We're holding it down. Great conversation. This Friday just happens to feature two of Chicago's best underground MCs who are doing work. Our next guest, Lyn Gatz, another Chicago resident who also does some work in LA and does a lot of crisscross travel. He dropped the EP Black Syllabus back in September, and he joins us now here on Weekend at Gabe's. Good evening, sir. How are you?
What's cracking, bro?
How you doing, man? Well, I was expecting the hair, man.
Man, no, the hair braided up right now. You know, you got to protect it, protective style. In order to do the fro, you got to keep the fro and the hair right and tight. You know what I mean?
I was looking for my my costume afro that I have in the house somewhere because I was hoping that you would come in, but I ran out of time to go find it, so maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, we both got the afros today, but you know. It's coming back soon. As soon as I take these out, afro back on deck.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. I mean, the photos you just posted on Instagram showcase your how would you describe it? Your very loud hair.
Yeah. Suave and silky with them on the joint. I had to pick the fro out. Got me a little suit coat. Threw my turtleneck.
Oh, you look great. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Man, yeah. 30. So I had to turn up on them real quick. Wore my new chain and stuff, you know. So.
That's right. Oh well, look at that. Well, life is treating you good. Yeah, you made a big thing about that turning 30. I remember when I turned 30, it felt like it did feel like a next chapter. You know, like your 20s, which is described as kind of like your time to take some chances and do some things that with a little bit of maturity. But still with an awareness, and now 30 kind of feels like that turning point of now pitfalls, and you taking that now you've understood lessons and you're able to plan more accordingly. Is that kind of how you're approaching it?
Man, shit, that I'm approaching it sort of like that. I just try not to think about it too much, because
but you were making noise about it.
No, to think about the fact that like I gotta like move different or do, I just want to continue to do what I do and not think of being 30 too much, because a lot of people let that old age or that 30-year-old thing. That's why I was like, hey y'all, I'm a 30-year-old rapper. Not it's kind of like to poke fun at the fact that people be like, when they turn 30, they just feel like they washed up or they can't do it no more. I'm like, I'm 30.
Exactly.
I've been rapping forever, so I'm 39. Ain't shit changed, ain't shit gonna change. Ain't nothing gonna change. But 39. It's in my actual life, my life, not my musical life, my life, it's a huge achievement for me because I know a lot of people. I went to school with people, grew up with people. They ain't make it past 25. They gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and my generation or our generation, whoever, they acting like, oh, you old, nah, oh, you old. Some people be playing, but some people be serious. Like, oh, I feel old now. I'm old. And I'm like, man, all that old shit. That's old. That's old because
saying you're old.
A lot of people don't see this age. A lot of people don't see 30. One thing I think about sometimes, and it blew my mind like it's like years ago. It's like I done seen the age and rapping at an age that Biggie and Tupac never seen, and that shit like blow me.
Yeah,
damn, they never got to see this age at all. So
that's true too. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking up. I ran across some old articles from like nearly 10 years ago. So you've been doing this for quite a while. So like when you're saying that you've been doing this for a long time, you have from teenager to now you're 30. So it's like 10, 15 years you've been recording or at least writing and penning and crafting music. Does that like when you think about that, that's kind of to be so still really good at what you do. And I've been following you for 5 years now, and I know you've been working before that, but it's like to be still continuously really good at what you do and also just driven passionately by it, to me says a lot about the work that you do and the artist that you are, and that you're not doing it just as some sort of I think a lot of artists, unfortunately, they do it as some sort of void to fill a void that they have, and it's not necessarily something they do out of passion, but just more out of how can I say it? Just out of a necessity. But when I'm listening to you, it's like I can feel like your storytelling, the way that you deliver records, the way that you play with your voice on the records, and do give me a little bit of something different to keep me entertained. And I think that's something that you can tip your hat on, because a lot of artists, once they've been 10, 12, 13 years in, either they just sort of run out of gas and they just don't want to keep doing it, or they're doing it for probably all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I rap with people. They done came and went, and they came and went quick. I've been doing it for 19 years though. So
wow.
Yeah, 2001 I started.
So when you were like 11, essentially, like 11 or 12.
I was 10.
10. Wow.
Yeah, I knew then. I was in 5th grade. And motherfucker teacher was mad as hell. I was always drawing and writing lyrics all over my homework. And she just like, stop doing this. I can't help it. I had all A's too, so I get done with my work and motherfucker shit. Writing music, drawing characters and shit. And she was just sick of it. But ever since then, me and my cousin, Anna Costello, we started rapping, playing around and stuff. And shit, I ain't never stopped. And I think a lot of people start making music for the wrong reasons. Like they start off like wrong. Like, and once you start off, that's your foundation. So you forever like in a cycle of trying to fulfill this like wrongness. I didn't think of all this shit. Like I didn't think I was gonna be rapping at a level. I didn't think if I was gonna be rapping like this or acting like that. I just like doing this shit. And the shit was funny as hell. Like it was just funny. We was just doing this like, oh, this fun. Hey. And we'd do it every time he came over. And then I started like writing by myself. And then we'd like have these little ciphers when he come over. And shit. I love the competition. I love I just love rapping, Joe. I think I just love fucking rapping. I done been in like walking down the street and people rapping. I walk over there and just be listening. And then just start ciphering. That's what I done been in like 1,000 battles, 1,000,000 ciphers, and I love it. Like it got to a point where it's like whoever I rap with, it was just like I was the best one in the group, man. Because I just like ciphering. I always like sharpening my craft, and I think ciphering is a thing that's just disappeared, really.
Oh yeah, the art of freestyling, the art of improvising, is something that I think. I would say at the turn of the century, that became something that became less common amongst artists. And I think you can argue how that happened or why that happened, but it just became, I think once the ringtone era came in, that's when it decided to go, because everyone was looking for an instant hit or instant cash out. and then everyone kind of followed that theme of like what kind of like make sure that the hook is hot, the beat is addictive, and then anything else like you can just fill in. It didn't matter as much, and so I think a lot of artists kind of went into it with that. I can write this song in 5 minutes. And like yeah, great, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And so the art and the skill disappear because they're just. I think that as aging artists evolved, that the younger artists just didn't respect that part of hip hop, or they didn't think that there was value in it. And so I think that's what happened, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I feel like in like the last like was it 2020? I think like you said ringtone era, so that's like what, like 2006?
No, probably before that. Like what, 3, 4? When it like when everyone started getting like getting the Boost Mobiles and all that stuff. I was like 03, 04.
Still had some spitters, like it was a lot of people spitting, like ciphering and people sharpening their craft. We still had some people rapping. It's just I think more so now it's like melodies run the game. Melodies and
yeah.
And it since melodies run the game, rapping, the actual rapping good is not much of a thing. It's not much of a the most important thing. And if you making melodies, cool, but oh yeah, let's cipher, or like, hey, rap right now, let's rap. We both rappers, let's rap. No, it's weird to me, G.
Yeah.
That's shrunk.
The skill has definitely diminished, which is unfortunate. Because they were doing like the Blaze battles in the 90s. They I believe that was like more freestyle, and now you see like the battles, and the what I've learned about them is that people have weeks to do their research and look up and pen their raps and come in prepared. It's like, yeah, it's cool. But to me, it doesn't tell me that you're able to adapt or to utilize every skill you have to put it together in a setting that's not prepared. And I think that unique MCs are able to do that. And sometimes those MCs aren't always the best writers or the best song makers, but I think it's still a skill that I think you should have. That if you're, and especially if you're going, now I'm getting into my soapbox. If you're going to do this craft, in my opinion, learn the craft, be great at the craft. Like what you're doing. You sound like you're always working at your craft. And if you're content with what you're doing and that's satisfying whatever it is you're doing, and that might be good for you, but to me as a fan or someone who evaluates and critiques what you're doing, to me it feels like you're falling short. Like if you really care about this culture, you would learn about the culture. And I mean, and I'm not saying that you study 30 years of hip hop releases. That's not something I'm asking you to do, but care enough to learn where it came from, how it started, the evolution of styles and delivery, and and tip your hat to those people and make your mark. But I don't think that people care too much about the 40 years of hip hop that happened before today. I really don't think that the value of hip hop is that high.
Yeah, as far as motherfucking generational older stuff, people just, I don't know, man. These kind of, man, I could go on for days, and it's just like my mind just like everything zooms to the front of it. It's like, man, I could go on for years about all this shit, man. Jesus.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to be a dinosaur and be like back in the day.
Yeah,
but the thing is that, yeah, go ahead.
It start making you feel like it make you feel old when you be like, man, I wish people would just start rapping again. It's like I just do what I want to do, and I'm gonna be what I want to see, and that's what I do. Like I just do what I want to see in the game. So
yeah. So all right, let's step away from this for a moment. So you put out Black Syllabus or Black Instruments. It was almost named.
Come on, man.
Hey, you put it in the album. You didn't have to give us that information.
Oh man!
But Black Syllabus does have a nicer sound to it than black instruments, but
Man,
whatever.
she was not going. She was like, hell no. I'm like, yeah, no. It's like instruments. Like, I'm the Gatz, you the keys. It's like Gatz and keys, like instruments. She like, no. We sound like old man. I'm like, no.
When you say she, let's give her some money, right?
Yeah. Raffinate keys. Raffinate keys. The second half on the project.
Yeah, so she's your co-collaborator on this and holds down the vocals. And she kind of gets into a spoken word rap as well. Do you, with this album, it's just a 4-track EP, but you were kind of pushing this like really hard before it came out, and then I know it's important to you. Sometimes we'll have artists that will pop up on the scene and be like, "Hey, today's my album is out." Like doing a lot of that early promotion legwork and dropping in. You came in, you found your way into my private messaging, like, "Yo, Gabe, coming out." When's it coming out? Like, like in 2 weeks. And like, let's get this thing going. And then you ended up landing like in the top 10 hip hop on iTunes that week, right? For new releases.
Yeah, number 4. Number 4.
Congratulations. That's fantastic, man.
Appreciate it. Number 4, man. I was shocked. Like, me and Ramaj was keeping up with it. We was updating it like every second. And we was like, oh, you at 50. He was like, oh, okay, we at 50. I didn't know what it was gonna do. I had promoted it so much. I was expecting it. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be in the top 50. Hopefully, it hit 50. We like, okay, that's what we expected. It updated. I was at like 10. I'm like, oh, I hit top 10. Oh shit! And we was lit. We was like, oh, that's crazy. And then that shit like an hour later, that shit zoomed up to 4. I was like, oh shit. It was what was it? I think it was 6ix9ine, Big Sean, Nas, and then it was me. And then right after me was the Locks. So yeah.
That's crazy.
I wanted that number 1 spot, but you know what I'm saying? I had some giants to take down in order to do it. But number 4 for independent artists, shit, I'm proud of myself. Me and Raffinate, we did our thing with that one.
Does that bring any like notoriety from like, I won't say like the big labels, but like the people who are major in the industry? Like, did anyone kind of reach out to you and like, yo, what's going on? Like, how, you up there this week? Like, or not really?
Man, you know what's crazy about that? I was doing a post earlier because I was gonna post it every Friday, and today's Friday, so I gotta post that for the day over. But every Friday I'd be like, yo, I hit number 4, y'all, hey, and just do some random shit. But this week, I was like, yo, I hit number 4. Like, was anybody really talking about it? Anybody? No. Like, to be Chicago's very own and be like putting on for the city like this and do something I ain't seen nobody I know did. I ain't never seen nobody do this.
Yeah.
0 people. And to be the first to ever do this shit, and I ain't hear a peep from my city, that shit blow me. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, that's whack. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's cool shit, but
well, I definitely know this, and I think it's a fantastic achievement and accomplishment, and you guys should definitely feel good about what you were able to accomplish with this record. And I mentioned to you that we were talking with our last guest about like mental health, and you guys covered that on here as well. Raffinate does. And then also just kind of like the spirit of being in a space where there's a lot of competition in hip hop on the Black Jeep. And I think that the record has a lot of different. I know you're talking about like social injustices, being Black in America. There's a lot of different messaging on this record that you can identify with, and the way that it was constructed makes it easy to understand, easy to relate to, and easy to appreciate. And I think that you were able to, like I mentioned, kind of just like play with different flows, sing-songy. You and Raffinate, exchanging and trading bars together. And something you've mentioned in previous interviews I've read is that polished sound that you're so proud about that out to me as well. So like the release itself has even though you mentioned that you're independent, it still has a big feel about it. You know, it doesn't sound independent; it sounds big, and I think that's what I really like about this record a lot.
Appreciate it, bro. For real, for real. We put a lot of work into it. We started the record the day after Nipsey Hussle died.
Wow.
And I was walking down the street and Ramaj called me and was like, yo, Nipsey Nipsey got shot. And I was like, whoa.
Were you in LA at the time?
No, I was in Chicago at the time. Okay. I was walking down the street and he had called me and I was like, whoa. I was like, keep me updated. So I started looking at shit. And it wasn't really no updates. You know how it go when news come out. It's like really like what's going on. Everybody like keeping an update. He called me back like Nipsey, bro. Nipsey gone. Man, that shit hurt me, Joe, because he one of them people like just independent and just independently doing this shit. And it's like that could be any one of us. You know what I'm saying? Like doing good, doing better for the community, motherfucker, your shit right, and being about your own shit and being a respectable motherfucker. And to go out like that is like, it hurt me, G. And I went right to the lab and I started the intro. I started that. That's when I wrote my intro to the joint. And after that, Raffinay came through. We started motherfucking writing together, listening to beats, and it was like, damn, we should do a project together.
Yeah.
I already got some loose ideas on this intro. I shot it to her and shit. We started working on that motherfucker ASAP and polished it the whole time up until the release date. We was working on that motherfucker.
So you guys have 4 records on there. Was there? Did you guys record a lot more records, or you just decided like we're only going to do a handful and then we'll see where it goes?
We had a bunch of beats, but we pick and choose which beats we like because she sing, I rap, and it's like some beats was a little different than both our styles would allow on one song.
Yeah,
so I think we just picked the 4 beats, and once we liked them, like I liked the first joint. We both picked the second one. The third one was all her. Like she was like, I like this beat. I'm like, all right, go ahead, write to it, whatever. And then I add my touches on it, whatever. So she wrote to it, came over, we started motherfucking vibing to it. I was like, okay, I like what you came up with. I wrote my shit, and that was it. The last one was us too as well. So I think the project was like equal because it's like 2 of them was both of us, and then 1 of them was ours alone. So yeah.
And this is your first time kind of like co-starring with someone, right? So
yeah.
Was that kind of a, I don't want to say new experience, but was that because now you're giving, I don't want to say you're giving up creativity, but you have to sacrifice yourself a little bit for the better of the project, and so that kind of had to be a new experience.
I think me and Raffinay work perfect when it comes to creativity, writing, all that shit. It's like we just get together and we just motherfucking just write. I don't feel like I'm hindering myself. I don't let her. She do what she want to do. I do what I want to do. We let each other hear the shit, and it's like I'm always satisfied with it. So it's like it was perfect.
Yeah,
I ain't feel no type of way making this project. Like, damn, I'm not saying what I want to. I said more on this project. I feel that I've said in a long time on my music, especially like diving deep into how I feel about myself within this world as a black person, as a black man, as an artist. I talked about death. I don't talk about death in my music. I talked about being black. I talked about the third one, Black Mona Issa. We was talking about our insecurities, and she picked her insecurities, and I picked mine. And my insecurity was being artist that's struggling, a broke motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And when you a struggling artist, you end up being like the struggling broke motherfucker. So that's something that I don't like. And people like put me into that category of feeling like, damn, I ain't good enough until I reach a certain level of wealth or a certain level of success. That's an insecurity. So I put that in the record.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember what she was like talking about, like loving herself,
Mhm.
which is sometimes really difficult to do when you're in that space, is what you're talking about, like as far as like you don't see the rewards of the work that you're doing, or people don't appreciate what you're doing, and you have a lot of questions about your existence and your self-value,
Mhm.
and that could put you into a really weird space that can have you questioning a lot, including loving yourself. So I really liked what she was singing there, and then like you mentioned, like your insecurities about being an artist who's you feel like you're performing at peak level,
Mhm.
but there's always the but,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not on MTV, or I'm not at this level that I imagine myself I should be at yet.
Mhm.
And so you can quickly diminish your achievements because you don't feel like you're where you should be at
Mhm.
least career wise. So I think that's a real feeling that anyone who cares about anything that they do, they can definitely look at, and question themselves, and definitely add some doubt to their feelings.
Mhm. Facts. Big facts.
So this so it's a great listen to, Jay, and I know that you're a fantastic rapper and a fantastic artist in your own. And I always and I think that you with Black Jeep, which is like my favorite record on the project, and I mentioned this to you, and like I listened
Mhm.
to it like on repeat like 4 or 5 times because
Damn, that's
I,
what's
I
up, bro.
I just love the way that it kind of builds and then it drops in. Like the
Mhm.
beat would just drop, and then the chorus of the record is super catchy. You guys are just sound fantastic together, and it has and I've mentioned this to you because when you have like your hair blown out, you're dressed in black, you
Mhm.
have this very West Coast vibe and feel to who you are. And
Mhm.
that Black Jeep record feels like a West Coast, like top down record where you're just cruising in the sun, lake, ocean, whatever it is. You're just
Mhm.
like feeling the openness of the coast. And so that, like, to me, that felt like a really big West Coast record. Did you
Yeah,
kind of
that's
feel like
dope.
that when you were making it, or you just like, it's just a really good record?
Man, I was just making music, man. Like me and her was just making some shit. Like, okay, hey, we wanted
Yeah.
to end it on a happy note. That's one thing we shot for, because all the even my old music, and people always told me like, you so positive in your music, and I'm like, I am, but I guess I do. Even when I'm talking about some deep sadness or deep stupid shit, I always wrap it around and let it be known that there's hope. And I think that's what the record was, because the first song was about injustice in America and being black and being silenced. The second song was about being appreciated while you're still here, because people want to love you after you're dead. So it's like death. The third song, insecurity. So like the fourth song can't be more sadness. We can't end on some sad boy shit. So
Yeah.
we shit, light at the end of the tunnel. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how difficult has this year been for you as a black man in America? Seeing all the injustices that have happened, the response to those injustices, policies that have been anti-black or racist. When and I know the record touches on some of that stuff, but just for you this year, how has that affected your mental wellness? Like, how do you how have you been able to manage through this year?
Yeah, man, this year is nuts. Like, hey, we got all this corona shit out here killing people, doing whatever, and then we got all this random police crazy shit. It just make you just like, damn, you can't win on no angles out here in this world as a black person. This shit just, and no matter what you do, I said on the project, like, you could be right, I could be right as hell 100% of the time, and they could still do some stupid shit. And it's just like, it's real mind-boggling, mentally disturbing. Like, for a while, when it like in the heat of all of it, it's just, it had you like, it had me like on edge. Like, damn, that's all I could think about. That's all. Like, whenever I talk to people on the phone, that's all we talked about. That's all we thought about. Like, it was just sadness and anger and just a feeling of just, man, will it end? how will it end? How do we make it end? How can it stop? It's just so many questions, just questioning just all the time. I still be thinking about this shit all the time. Like I could be away from people 100% of the time, and just you just never know. That's the thing. You just never know. You never know what can happen out here. So
sadly, that's true. So what are you working on now? Is there anything that you're using this sort of downtime since everyone is sitting and working on their craft, or working on something else? I noticed it just came out in September. Are you guys going to shoot try to shoot some videos for it, or what's the strategy?
Man, we had all kind of stuff lined up for the joint. I wanted to do a listening party. I wanted to do like a get together, some type of release, but with the COVID stuff, it got delayed, postponed, or canceled, whatever COVID want to take us into. Shooting videos. We had to rewrite all our ideas, because we sat while we wrote the project. We wrote all the scripts, and not scripts. We wrote all the treatments out for the videos. Like we wrote ideas out. We wrote the style that the video was gonna look, but a lot of the videos involved crowds of people or having people gather, and it's just not gonna be possible, and it sucks that we can't do our idea the way we originally thought. But that's just a part of being an artist and artistry. You just gotta work your way around it. But I don't want to work around it too much to where it's like social gathering and social distancing is like actively ruining what we set out to portray in our video. So I just postpone it for now. But I am working on something. You about to get an exclusive. You ready for an exclusive?
Wait, hang on. Let me get my very limited sound effects going, because we have no budget on this show. There you go.
Exclusive. You asked me what I'm working on. I am working on I have something. I have physical copies of the Black Syllabus. Me and Raffinay gonna sign these bad boys, and we gonna be selling these joints. You know what I'm saying? 100 in total, exclusive. We only making 100 for now, and shit, there it is. And you getting you want you ready for the ultra exclusive?
All right, let's go.
There is a 5th song, so.
Oh, look at that!
Bonus track. You get the bonus track. You get the bonus track. 5th song, Black Syllabus. So yeah.
Do I get the free copy since I bought the digital already, or do I have to buy it again?
You got to buy the 100. All
100. Understood. All right, cool. Well, tell people where they can go and order it.
We could no. For now, it's personal. You gotta hit me up. You gotta contact me personally.
I see.
And I'm shipping them off to personally.
I do want a poster of the album cover. I don't know if you guys are gonna do that, but I would appreciate that, because I love the album cover.
Okay. I got you on the house.
All right, I'm not advocating for free stuff. I just I love the poster.
No, I got you.
I love the artwork.
I got you, bro. I got you.
All right.
But the CD, not fucking with you.
Well, we'll see if I can dig into my pockets and see if you can shake out another $5 for me. I got you.
Gotcha.
Let me let you go, but thanks for joining us. Tell people where they can find you on these internets, and how they can reach out to you directly so they can order your a copy of the physical of Black Syllabus.
So you could follow me on everything. Is Lyn Gatz, JAYLYNGATZ, everything all together. Motherfucking at names. Just type that in, you'll be able to find me.
There you go. He's a great follow and also a great friend of the show. I appreciate you every time giving us your time and energy to talk about your work with us here on Weekend at Gabe's. We hope that you have a great rest of the night, weekend, holiday. Please be safe out there, man. I definitely don't want any of our friends here from the show to get sick with this germ, so please be safe.
Appreciate it, bro. Likewise, man. Be safe out here. Mask up if you have to. Motherfucking social distance. Do everything in your power to stay safe, man.
Fact.
No, I am, man. I ain't taking no chance. I ain't trying to be out here not being able to rap. So
I went to the grocery store for the first time tonight in 3 weeks.
damn.
Not like we don't buy groceries. It's just that I haven't bought groceries.
Oh, damn. Yeah, you lucky, man. I be at the store like a motherfucker, man.
I know I've gone to like other places. I just haven't gone to grocery store. I've gone to places where you can like get in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So like drive-throughs and stuff like that. But like actually like shopping cart, all that stuff. It's been like 3 weeks. So it's I pick my moments when I need to get out and definitely double up on the mask. But but hey, you gotta do it.
Yeah, double up. Damn, okay. Shit.
Usually use that term for another reason, but we'll use that for this right now.
Yeah. Facts.
All right, Jay, man. Thank you again for checking us out here on Weekend at Games. That's going to be our night. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Lyn Gatz, ROE, our guest on Weekend at Games. Thanks for checking us out tonight. We're going to wrap up. We went into overtime, so hopefully everybody appreciates that. Have a great night. And we'll be back at it next Tuesday with Vashawn Jordan, a photojournalist here in Chicago, and also Jamal Science, who's dropping his new album next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about that. So we got a great show lined up. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll see you next Tuesday. Enjoy your weekend as well. Weekend Gabe, I'm out.